And this comes the way, once again, of the incredible Jez Corden of Windows Central, one half, ladies and gentlemen, or depending on when you ask him, the lead voice in the Xbox 2 podcast with Randall Thor 19. He wrote a story, and I saw it. I read it, and I said, this is one of those stories that A, I want to talk about, and B, this is where I got a little bit of smoke from Microsoft. Again, we're not shy about giving Sony the business, right? Because, they step on rakes a lot, and they have recently. Nintendo, we don't really say much about them. I know that the Switch 2 reveal is in 2 weeks. Yes, for the love of Joe, I cannot wait for that. Hopefully, we'll be able to pre-order it. And supposedly, folks, they have, and again, this is a rumor, take it with a grain of salt, that they are been making these things where they're going to have like 20 million of them available at launch. Yes, because I need 3 of them, okay? I need one for me, selfish gamer, one for Mrs. Boom, and one for Tyler. So I'm in for 3. But I do want to focus back to the story that we're going to cover here. And this is where, folks, I have some smoke from Microsoft. Now, I just want to turn everyone's attention to the last year's business update, where they talked about a lot of things, multi-plat being one of them. Next generation hardware being the biggest advancement in the history of the brand, backwards and forwards compatibility. But one of the things that continued to come up at the beginning of the year is getting many of the Activision Blizzard King games, or more so the Activision games, onto Xbox through backwards compatibility. And more so than anything, Hargeet, it's the Call of Duty series. Now, I don't know why this has not been a priority. I don't know how difficult it is, because I'm not a programmer, to get these games into the backwards compatibility program that was shut down at one point but restarted, probably because of ABK. And this article from Jez Corden, and the title reads this way: Xbox fans are pining for Microsoft to reopen backwards compatibility, and considering it previously said it would add as many games as possible to Xbox Game Pass via the Activision catalog. Now, Jez goes on to say, one thing I try to do with my voice on Windows Central is to amplify Xbox's community concerns. And there is one I haven't really given enough of a spotlight to of late. Well, that's going to change today, because in the article, Jez Corden writes, it's increasingly risen to the fore of my DMs and emails over time, though as an Xbox fan, they're asking what's going on with Activision Blizzard. Microsoft, again, reading the verbatim from the story, Microsoft closed its acquisition of ABK almost a year and a half ago, back late in 2023, giving it control of dozens upon dozens of IP, including World of Warcraft, Call of Duty, Candy Crush Saga, and many more. Some Xbox fans and commentators beyond have been asking why. Increase, and now again, I think he's referring to the video that was done by the former IGN. Why can't I think of his name? Destin Legarie. He thinks that and again, I disagree with Destin, but I understand his frustration, because a lot of Xbox gamers are frustrated. We all expected to at least start getting the Call of Duty games in there. We've had a few. You've gotten Spyro, you've gotten Crash, you've gotten, this year's Call of Duty Black Ops 6, which is phenomenal. You've gotten a few others in there. But for the most part, I think, and I'm speaking for myself here because I am an older gamer, I would really love to revisit games like Singularity. This is a gem, Hargeet, that a lot of people skipped over. And if we can get this version of Singularity that offers the frame boosts, that offers the HDR or the automatic HDR, it could logistically look and play like a new game. Another one for, in my tip of spear conversation is Prototype. Prototype is a freaking phenomenal game that is literally stuck in yesteryear. And they own the IP. They own everything that has to, you have to do to get this game into Game Pass. I think that if you put it out there and it did get this frame boost and it did get the HDR boost, you could, potentially grab some interest to maybe make a sequel. Because again, Sony has their Spider-Man, Nintendo has their Mario. And when you think about those games, it's great. But man, I don't think there's anybody in the Xbox community that would not want a new Prototype, or at least to be able to play the older ones. My question to you, and of course, this is for the chat and Kay Asante as well, what's taking so long? What is the holdup?
Well, so when they did Bethesda, they decided they were going to just dump everything sort of in a couple of waves, right? And I think they just kind of learned from that. And this is like the rumors we hear, that if you do that, all the games kind of get overlooked because nobody has time to pick up 30 games and try to play them at the same. It's just not going to happen, right?
Right, of course.
And that kind of nullified, the adding them to Game Pass. And okay, that was a mistake. So what they're trying to do is just give you one or so a month. And that's kind of what they've been doing. It's just drip up one or so a month. Now, people want to say, hey, we want all the Call of Duties. And that is the biggest chunk, right? That but you mentioned other games. And they have been putting those other games in. We're getting the Blizzard Arcade Collection this month.
Yep,
they're giving you one or so a month. Now, they might skip a month, but now to your point of backwards compatibility, behind the scenes, the team was sort of put on other things, right? The major focus was shifted from doing console stuff to doing the Windows hybrid stuff. Okay, so that's where the team is putting their energy. If you want to go back to that, they can do it. It's fine. Do you want them to focus on the Windows stuff, or do you want to focus on this stuff? And then this is where the problem comes in, right? And so they still have to do the forwards compatibility to allow your back compat in whatever the new format's going to be, right? If they have a hybrid Windows thing in the next gen, that's still work they have to do, right? That same team has to figure that out, right? Are they going to focus on that? Are they going to focus on bringing back older games? Certainly, it would be very, very cool to do that. But I think from Microsoft's perspective, Xbox's perspective, Sarah's perspective, she owns that, right? That forwards compatibility thing. I think she's going to say, I want my next gen, right? Because that's more important than bringing back older games, which we can do. They can just do it later, right? They can just say, hey, get this done. We'll put on the backlog that we're going to get these other games. In the meantime, there's so many other games, all the Call of Duties that are already backwards compatible, right? They're already backwards compatible. We can bring those in during this time, right? We can bring in the games that are already working. We can just put those into the back, into the next year or so of Game Pass, months, right? As they roll out. And then, once that's good, we can, it might be 2 years. I don't know how long it's going to take them, right? Then we can start adding in the old cat. So this is just my thoughts on how I would look at it. What's the best bang for the buck of taking advantage of their teams, right? So if they're going to spend the energy, I think that's where you spend the energy. It makes much more sense, right? This is their big, huge strategy, a shift that they're doing. And to be successful, they need that back compat. And I think that's what they're looking at, to say, let's bring the full catalog they already have forward to whatever the next gen is. And I think that's going to be their focus. At least that's how I see it. I have no confirmation of that or anything like that. This is all rumor. This is all just me thinking, right? So that's my guess. But as far as the games, we heard this as they were buying it. They're like, yeah, that failed with Bethesda. We're not going to do that again. So we're going to give you one or so a month, maybe two, right? Because that's consumable. Just think of how it is. We're still getting so many games that it's tough to keep up with our backlog, right? But that's the way it's going to go, right? And you're going to get new games. You're going to get old games, right? You're getting the Tony Hawk, was it 3-4, whatever? That's coming up, right? You're going to get Call of Duty, obviously, right? There's games that come in as new games, but there will be older games that come in. But I think that's how they're going to play it. They don't want to overwhelm you. They already do that anyway with the number of games they give you. right? So they don't want to do that with their own catalog. And this just gives them stuff that's in their back pocket. Anytime they need something, they don't have something of their own first party. Boom, here you go. Here's a back catalog title that hasn't come to Game Pass that we have. All right, here you go, right? So now the beauty is that they have so many games coming out first party new that we're just overwhelmed anyway. But in that rare month that they don't have something, they will go ahead and throw in one of these. So that's how I see it, right? So I know it might be frustrating that you don't have everything immediately, but I see the flip side of that, right? That it's to the benefit of the player to be able to actually play the game and not see like, okay, there's like 30 games that just dropped in, and I'm just gonna skip all that. So that may not be but now from the other perspective of this is, as a new customer, you come in and you want to see all these games. I get that, but it takes time to play all those games, right? So,
well,
so
I'm having trouble
there.
playing the games I got now, so I understand what you're saying.
So I kind of get it I think overall, I think it's the best solution is really just we'll put in a game or two a month and get the catalog in there. And that way you're not overwhelmed, but you do get access to start playing those games, have fun with it. Right. But I think that's kind of, hey, Destin's in the chat.
Yeah. He actually made a first of all, Destin Legarie in the chat. Destin, welcome, kind sir. He says, interesting thought, but I think they're finally hitting their stride with first party games. And you see, he's on to something because they are hitting their stride. And look, we started to see the locomotion move, right, in 2023. Like, no one wants to give Xbox credit that they had a really good 2023. I don't understand why, but okay, fine. 2023, I thought it was a good year. I thought 2024 was a even better year. 2025, I think, is going to be a great freaking year. And 2026 looks to be so insane that it's not even fair, right? Like, it's ridiculous.
It's nuts. Yeah,
so
it's nuts.
My thing is we keep waiting. Look, I know what I'm about to say is both going to excite and piss people off at the same time because you can't get it. I don't know about you folks. I have every Guitar Hero game ever released on disc. Literally every one of them. And every Rock Band. Now, I understand license. I understand it all. So maybe they can't sell these things. I don't know what the particulars would be of being able to just make them backwards compatible so you can play on your Series X. But at the end of last year, I think, Kay Santa, you bought it also. There's a new freaking guitar that works, that's foldable. Oh my God, it's so freaking nice. I bought it on Kay's. He was like, dude, you got to get this. And all I want to do is play Guitar Hero. And we know Phil has even mentioned the words Guitar Hero. That's something that they should
Sure.
make. Yeah.
I don't know about you, but I still play it almost every week. Please.
Because you,
oh, good. Go ahead.
Yeah. Listen, I don't want to talk to you now. Yeah. See, Destin says it'd be a licensing night, man. No doubt about that.
Yeah, that too. Absolutely.
So you know what? Let's bring in Kay Asante. Kay, look, I know that the consensus, and Hargi, jump in whenever you want to, if you want to add some context to this, has been who plays old games. Like who wants to play?
That was
old
only
games?
Jim Ryan.
That was only Jim Ryan,
everybody,
right?
Everybody plays. Now they remake old games all the time. Remaster the 3-year-old game.
It didn't age well. Let's just say that for good old Jim. There he is. Hi, Jim. How you doing, brother? Welcome to the show. That's a long nose. I would definitely spend some of that retirement money and get that thing fixed. There's no doubt about it. Kay Asante, look, I understand that maybe Singularity is not tip of spear for somebody in the chat. Maybe yeah, well, I don't play that old game. 360, who gives it, right? Oh, okay. I'm not going to fight with you. But I think why a lot of Xbox gamers, including myself, is a bit frustrated is the silence from the heads of Xbox. And of course, that is a wide brush. You Jason Ronald is a part of that. He's a part of the future of Xbox. Sarah Bond being the president. Phil obviously is is the CEO of Microsoft Gaming. Of course, you have Aaron Greeny out there doing his thing, Matt Booty. And this, I'm going to be honest with you folks. I have no problem bringing smoke and a conversation to where I think Xbox deserves it. And this is one of those areas that them being this quiet and not giving us, hey, listen, we're going to give you a roadmap. And maybe I'm being a greedy gamer here because we already have an incredible roadmap. And maybe some people don't care about old games, but there are a lot of people that actually do. And a lot of people have these discs like me, and we would like to pop on an old game like Prototype and get the advantages of playing it on your Series X through HDR boost and through frame boost. Let's get your thoughts on how quiet they've been. And I think, is the smoke valid?
So, okay. So I by and large agree for the most part with what Hargeet, with Hargeet's theory of the case. I'm kind of there with him on that level as well. I think the smoke is righteous. I would actually double down and go a little bit in a different direction though. So buckle up, and the virtual tomatoes can come here. I'm sorry, maybe I'm being a little cynical here, but the reason why I have to state it this way is because I feel like, at least for me personally, once I have crystallized in my head what I think is going down, it helps me not to necessarily be so disappointed when things come the way they come. Okay. Now, Hargeet made a very good point here in saying that they learned their lesson with Bethesda. One part of the Bethesda puzzle that was different compared to this one, though, is they had no porting work to do with the Bethesda stuff. They could do it day one because all of those games were just there. They were just not in a aggregated format. All they really need to do was just create the Bethesda category, bring them all together. The games are already on the Xbox store. The games are already on the PC store. It was like that. So somebody could just easily dump them on you, and they did. And of course, they learned their lessons that way, right? In this scenario, that lesson that was learned was valid because they learned that if they dump a whole bunch of games on you, now the games get lost in the sauce, right? Makes sense. But what makes this scenario different is most of ABK's games are not in all of the stores. They are definitely in the Microsoft Xbox store, but we already know that Game Pass rolls deep together, right? And they know that consumers would see their favorite game come to the Game Pass store and they go, well, why is it not on PC? Well, why is it not on console? It needs to ship together, right? Which in this scenario costs more money than it did in the Bethesda situation. Now, here comes my cynical take. And that's why I think, and again, this is just total rumor and speculation on my part, but this is how I'm reading the tea leaves in it. I feel like just for the purpose of making the Xbox console gamer happy, the juice is not worth the squeeze. Y'all have so many new games coming. One new game after another new game after another new game. How
on
much
top of Game Pass
you really spend in that old thing? Yeah, you want it so you can say W, but will you really use it? Chances are no. And if you do use it, the enough of you that use it won't be enough to validate the amount of money, even though it's minuscule, to actually port that game to all those stores. So what I think is happening is they are going to do it, but just like you guys have said, they've learned that Bethesda lesson, and they will only do it when it's financially advantageous for them. In other words, we're now releasing the new Prototype collection. It's going everywhere. So we have a reason to break code. We have a reason to crack open code. Then we'll do porting, right? Because at that point, we're paying people to do actual work. It's not just back compat to the Xbox people who are already customers who already pay for Game Pass, which we technically won't get $1 from for doing all this work because we're already getting their dollars, right? The only reason it's worth it to go back and port all the old COD in there is because at that point, you're now trying to get new customers. BoomStick is already reeled in. He's not even on the line. He's at the store. His mouth is like this. He's already enjoying himself on the line.
Dude, if you knew how much money I spent in Black Ops 6 this year,
you know what I'm saying?
It's
so spending money to make BoomStick happy, while that would be cool, is not financially advantageous for them. Their reason to do that would be because there are new people coming in. there's a new initiative coming. And they know that BoomStick will wait because he's busy playing his backlog. And eventually, when they think it is financially advantageous, both the new person will like it and BoomStick will like it. They are waiting until it is financially advantageous to go back in the back compact crates. They are waiting, even though they could do it tomorrow. But right now, if they do it, that's just game after game after game. And maybe, like Hargeet is saying, there comes a rainy day when they could have broken glass, and now they don't have it for you, and now you have a drought, and of course the pitchforks will come out.
So
right?
Destin seems to want to come on, and I don't know.
Yes, you know what?
Like,
I will. You know what? I was literally just typing to
Yes.
see if he wanted to pop on for a hot second.
Mhm.
Let me just do a quick DM and get
Mhm.
Destin in.
Yeah,
Destin
please
to
get him in here. Absolutely, because
There he is.
and I see the examples that he's raising in the chat. The reason why I think it's because of the backwards work is because right now a lot of those games are not in their store. They're not.
yeah, and I think he's
purchasable
confusing
now
the
in
two
their store.
stores, right? There's the Xbox
Yeah.
console store, but
Right.
there's the
And
Microsoft
the Windows
PC
store.
And
That's
remember,
the
they're going to do it
porting that
on
needs to
both.
happen.
That's their thing, right? They
Yes.
do it on both.
Either they ship
they
at
also
the same
want
time
cloud
or they don't ship at
compatibility,
all. That's right.
So that's the way it goes.
Yes.
Cloud
So
console and PC.
So to explain the point further, when in the Bethesda example, they had it in the Xbox store. They had it in the PC store. The porting for the cloud variant is minimal work, relatively. In this example, they have it on the Xbox store, of course, because all those games are on Xbox. But they don't have all of them on the PC store. And I understand that a lot of the PC people, console people, are going to be like, "So what? We want our games." They ship things together, right? And there's a more bigger chance of getting more people in with a COD collection to PC store when no one's seen those games there before. Although you will love it as a console gamer to get your game back, it won't really translate to new people. And because of that, they'll wait until it is financially advantageous. That is my theory of the case, right? Because again, they could release it today. When they do, you'll go, woohoo, it's awesome. And then you'll move on to 33 Immortals or to Expedition, or, it'll become a W point and then it'll get lost in the sauce. Rather than waiting till the time when they have a drought, when it could be that thing that keeps you playing that summer until the next thing comes out. I think that's why they're being a bit more strategic with it.
I mean, listen, it's great points all around. As we wait for Destin to come in here, I do want to just add some additional context. Just again, we're just conversation, having a conversation here. I think I understand that they're not selling consoles like they used to, and even when they used to sell consoles, they were always behind PlayStation, right? That's been like that for years. It is what it is. Like both consoles, I believe, are slightly under of where they were during their lifespan. So, like, I know the Xbox has not been selling, but they are closer to where the Xbox, One X and was during its lifespan. Same thing for Sony. Sony's, I think, 2 or 3 million short of where the PS4 and PS4 Pro were at its lifespan versus the PS5. So again, they're literally the console makers are selling to the same people. That's the standard fare. But I am going to say that, specifically Guitar Hero, folks, I get it. I knew that the licensing would be a nightmare. Some people are suggesting in the chat that instead of spending the money on, and let's get Destin in here on.
And by the way, real quick about that, while you do that, about the Guitar Hero stuff, I actually think the reason why Guitar Hero may not be as advantageous now as it was before, well, it may be more now than it was before, is live service exists now. There's a lane now. It exists. It's a whole cottage industry. When Guitar Hero and Rock Band started, this didn't exist, right? Yeah. It made licensing costs super ridiculous. Now, if you go to music companies and say, "Hey, do you want to put all your games, your music in a service?" They will thank you very much and gladly enjoy your money. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, it's true. Hey, Destin, welcome to the show, brother. Thanks so much for popping on for a few minutes. I want to get your thoughts. I saw you typing away in the chat, so of course we're happy to actually hear the voice. What are your personal thoughts about? And again, I'm being a bit facetious here. Xbox kind of dragging their heels with the ABK games getting into the service.
Yeah, I got my well actually avatar on here. So
Please, yes.
yeah. Well, you guys have already discussed it at large. Kay, what are the things you were talking about though during your point there was that they have to do all this work to make them backwards compatible and such.
To the Windows PC store.
To the Windows PC store,
PC
but
store. Yes.
they already do
That's the key.
They do piecemeal with all of their games anyway. I just think it would be a big win if they're just like, hey, we own this company. We've made those games backwards compatible. You're talking about games that are 15 years old or older. It just doesn't make any sense to me. There's no way that they're making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars off a prototype or all this money off of just these old games that aren't selling.
I think you don't understand what I'm. Oh, and we lost him. Oh,
he's still here. He was having issues with his camera, so I'll put him back in here as soon. Yeah, there we go. We got him to the stage.
Oh, there we go. Yes.
I don't know what happened there. That was weird.
Okay, cool. Well, I was just going to interject and say what I understand and completely agree with you that it would completely be a win for the company that owns this to just say, hey, look, you guys are our customer base, customer first. Here's some games for the service. Absolutely, right? All I'm saying is today it would just be a W and it would cost them stuff minimally, but still it would cost them because those games are not in that store.
What would it cost them? Adding them to the store?
Yes.
So
it costs
the manpower.
Yes. Right now, all
that's
you
such
do
a
is
minimal expense for a $1 trillion company.
But still, it does not equal any gain at all. At all. And in a company that's AAA a corporate company, which those of us that work in corporate companies know that you don't get out of bed unless there's some kind of dollar amount that says, hey, this is what we gained here. Not just PR, but we gained something, right? And if the gain is just good PR for existing customers, that does not make dollars and cents. It has to equal well. We're getting well.
In this game, they're probably not going to have the original team actually do the work. They're probably going to have it ported by somebody else.
What
so they're going to have to spend money.
You guys, you keep talking about porting though. They're there. They're on the console. Many of them are
on the Windows store.
They are on the Windows store. Singularity is on the Windows store. Like Singularity is available to be downloaded. It's been ported. Prototype 1 and 2 are available on Steam,
but not on the Windows store.
Different but not Windows Store, and so you
well,
have to
they're on Steam. They're available on the Xbox ecosystem. So like a lot of the games that we're discussing are available and for sale. Have a very low player base. They literally just need to flip the switch or have somebody drag and drop it into the Game Pass folder.
It's not a flip switch.
I'm being hyperbolic for fun,
right?
But yeah,
it's like 6 months work per game.
6 months? Why? Like why would it take 6 months? Why?
So, because a lot of those games back in those days when they were made, a lot of them were
no. There's no work. There's no work. Like let's use Prototype as an example here. Prototype 1 and 2 are available currently on the Xbox store. It's available on Steam. I think it's in the Windows store, or we can use Singularity. That one I know is available everywhere. It's already got the updates. They need to flip it on. Like the work is getting it into the Game Pass ecosystem, and I can't imagine that would take 6 months. I'm not talking about like doing HDR and redoing all the textures and doing all of that work. I'm talking about you have all of these products sitting there not selling. You could use it as a promotional tool, do it this summer or something, and they've been sitting on it for a year and for 15 months. For 15 months, they've been sitting on this. You're telling me there's no time in the last 15 months they could have did a big promotion with like even 5 of the old Call of Duties or something. So like when you talk about the work that goes into it, I push back on that narrative.
You should understand that I'm not saying this is a good look that they're doing. I'm not saying this is a bad. I am saying that because of exactly what Hargeet has mentioned, and I saw that myself, I don't expect them to just drop games on you like they did before, because it is more financially advantageous to do it when you're doing it on a grander scale that can then equal ROI. Also, there are gaps in their history that people then come after them for. They are being far more strategic with what they have now than they have been in the past, right? Well, that part I think is a good look.
To strengthen,
I do agree that they should throw some bones from time to time, but I do think they're being strategic with what they're keeping
Well,
to themselves.
Yeah,
No.
they're going to do that.
Let me help you out. Let me strengthen your argument. I think a really good example of a strong win for Microsoft was the Ninja Gaiden re-release that came out in January. If they can do that with the Call of Duty franchise, I think that would be really exciting. But I'm just not the type of person where I'm going to say, well, we have to be mindful. Xbox needs another 15 months to figure out how to make Call of Duty 2 work on the Xbox Series X. Like, I'm just kind of like, okay, it's been 15 months, guys. Like, you got to start making bigger moves than just the Crash Bandicoot though, right? And such. No, I totally hear you, but I'm not as a player, as a consumer. I'm just kind of like,
you may not care as a console consumer, right?
It may not.
The optics are you're doing nothing for the player. Like, we understand the business realities. We know it takes more than that. Yeah. But it's been 15 months, and it's not like nothing was happening during the contract negotiations. So I totally hear you guys. But I
don't think they were going to do any porting during the contract negotiations, right? They can't tell them to do anything, right? They were kind of locked from doing anything. But it's not a trivial thing to put something from Steam over to Microsoft Store, because there's actual code changes. Remember, it's now achievements for Microsoft, not achievements.
And
for
also,
Steam.
these games are older. Their paradigm, the technology and the paradigm was different from when they were first built to the paradigm today.
And you're probably not going to change it, right? So you're not going to up-rev the development tools, the libraries. So you're going to have to make an environment that can recompile whatever they had. You have to then put in the changes to make it work with the new store. So that's why it's 6 months, okay? Because it's just work. And it sounds like it's trivial. It's not. It's a little bit of work.
But to your point, Destin, they could have done it by now, easily. All that could have been done by now today, and that is the reason why I'm saying they are not doing it on purpose. It is a strategic move.
A simple game they could do is Singularity. It's on the Windows Store, so the work's mostly.
A lot of people have been asking for that game. Yeah. You know what? Real quick,
Raven
guys.
Software, great game.
Yes.
I wonder if Soldier Fortune.
Absolutely. No, Soldier Fortune is not there. I've checked. And by the way, neither is Prototype 1 or 2, because I would have bought it already.
It's not on the Windows Store.
Yeah.
So Brett Bingham in the chat, who I believe is the developer, says, and he's obviously he's answering the question. He says games typically take 6 to 8 weeks of work minimum to be ready to be put into Game Pass, regardless if they already are on the storefront. So again, it's
been 15 months.
Yes, it's been a while. And again, listen, Destin, you mentioned optics.
Black Ops 3, that's on like a bunch of the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 is on the store. So like the Call of Duty line, it holds less water with me now that I'm looking. Okay, a bunch of them are here. COD 2, World at War, World War 2. Ghosts, bad example. Advanced Warfare, Modern Warfare 3, etc. But they could do something with Call of Duty. Like, do we really think they're making that much money from like Modern Warfare, original?
The point is not that they're making money.
No, I'm not making
money with it right now. The point is that right now they could if they did what we're describing, it could be a small blip.
Yeah.
And I suspect they're holding it back to make a big, massive something when they need it.
Well, look, I'm gonna try and put I'm the hat split. I'm looking at this from Business 101 and Fan 101. Now, we all asked the question. I believe Destin even asked the question: how come during the holidays there weren't any Black Ops bundles pushing the console? Now, we wound up finding out in the 11th hour that literally the deal didn't end until the end of the year ended, and now they're free and clear. They have no obligation to Sony at all. But are they having trouble selling consoles? Yes. Wouldn't it be a bit of a good idea, let's just say, if they were able to slap on a box, play your favorite Call of Duties from the yesteryear and Black Ops 6, and throw it onto a $250 Series S to kind of bolster sales. And again, I think a lot of people who, and again, this is $1 million idea I'm giving away, folks, and I'm not going to get any credit for when they do it, right? GTA is happening this year. It's looking more likely every week that passes. Most people are now starting to get a bit trigger finger happy or nervous about, well, I'm on a PS4 Pro, I'm on an Xbox One X or S. I got to move on because GTA is coming probably for the holiday. I have to upgrade. And again, this is just thinking outside the box from Businessman 101. If you know that's going to happen, because literally the head of 2K said they expect that it's going to sell both PlayStation 5s and a ton of Xbox consoles, because you're going to get people to move over.
It'll sell.
Why not? Yeah, I mean, why not try to move them now? Throw Call of Duty, make this box that looks amazing. Put 5, 10, 15 Call of Duties that are in there, right? They're not going to cost them anything, and throw it out there. Maybe you start getting those GTA sales now, because people are going to want to play their old Call of Duties. I don't know. To me, it just seems like I'll put it to this way. If we would have already had an answer from Sarah, from Phil, from Matt, from Aaron, hey guys, we hear you. We're working around the clock to get this done. I don't think we'd even be having this conversation. But the fact that they haven't said anything at all outside of we're going to try to put as many games from the ABK library into Game Pass, and I think it's been like 10. I think there's been like 10 games.
And if you've noticed, the ones that have come to Game Pass tend to be new titles or key older titles, right? Only titles that are worth opening.
Yeah.
Right. This is why my theory is what it is. I don't think it's the juice is worth the squeeze unless there's something else to it.
But here's my concern with the strategy that they've implemented thus far. The community feels alienated and devalued. And as a show of good faith, this would be a very easy way to show we still care about our core. They have said multiple times people are playing longer on their Xboxes. It's the most engaged audience, but they also have P&L, right? Is that what it's called? And they're looking at their console sales. I don't think they're going to be at 40 million anytime soon based on just the numbers people have come up with. On the high end, people are saying 36 million. I'm estimating closer to 32 million. We don't know where they are, but that's a dangerous place to be in when your competitor is nearing 80 million units sold. So they need the PlayStation sales, but I worry that if they keep going down this path of, there's no red lines. Phil Spencer told me in the interview, he told everybody in the interview, basically, we are going to do more multi-platform games. I do see a lot of conversation online from hardcore Xbox fans who yelled at me for using the wrong car paint when I did a graphics comparison in IGN, selling their Xboxes and just saying it's all going to come to PlayStation. And then if you're super savvy and you're a PC player, like I am primarily, you just play on PC because you get the Xbox ecosystem, you get the PlayStation games eventually, and then you buy a Switch for $100, whatever. Anyway, my point is I'm worried that the core fan base is going to feel alienated because it feels like there's been a lack of focus on them. The community probably could use a big win showing that, hey, we hear you about the back catalog. Here this is, or here's some incentives where we are integrating the Xbox ecosystem into the World of Warcraft experience, into the Diablo experience. I don't know if they have with Diablo. Diablo's on Game Pass, so that was a pretty big win for them. The new games coming to Game Pass is a big win, but World of Warcraft is one where that could benefit from getting the Xbox fans invested into that ecosystem. Sorry, I have a lot of thoughts. I'm kind of jumping all over.
Oh no, you're not wrong.
No, that is definitely a bigger one, right?
We've speculated on this show and a few times that there could be a world where if they really were bullish and they were really bold about trying to get those numbers inflated, they could just combine WoW numbers and add WoW into Game Pass and go, WoW, you are now Game Pass. Game Pass, you are now WoW, and now they have 100 and something million subscribers. They haven't done that. They could if they really, really wanted. It's kind of what PlayStation did with their subscribers and combining them and turning them into one big number, right? It's interesting they haven't done that yet. Again, I think it is they are being more strategic now as far as when to do things when they feel like they need it, versus we have so many games and let's just let the game speak in the short term. But I do agree with you that it does look like they are risking their hardcore in favor of strategic advantages. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of people ask me why I didn't ask Phil Spencer about this during the interview, and honestly, I just didn't think of it. He wasn't like, you're not allowed to ask me questions about stuff. He's very open whenever we speak. So I just wanted to squash that narrative real quick.